Walter just spoiled. The idea of like, so just any question, I'll start with a question for you.
All right.
And then I bet they'll have questions.
Sure.
So you like this guy Ginsberg, right? I never heard of him, but he sounds good. But I like Ginsberg, we talk a lot about like how he wrote poetry and he talks about writing howl to the idea of like breaths and jazz and everything like that. I was like, I wonder, I don't know anything about how you write, like where you write, where you sit, what do you do? When you're writing a poem, do you go outside, do you sit at a desk, do you have a regular practice, what do you do?
It's usually a notebook. Back patio is probably my preferred spot, but bars, I like to write in bars. Usually I like to go on like drive out of town.
Yeah.
So I'll just drive until I have an idea and then stop the car and jot down some shit.
So driving, patio, or bars?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Let's see.
Any
questions?
follow-up questions?
That cover it.
This guy.
Oh yeah.
So are you just a rolling stone that carries no loss, or is there some rhyme or reason to your perambulations?
Are you kidding? Look at his face; it's covered with moss.
Yeah, I mean, I was a vagabond for a good part of my life, just going in and out of cities and couldn't stay in one place. I mean, I've been in the Pacific Northwest for 4 years, and my wife and I are kind of settled in Corvallis, Oregon now, so we're thinking we're going to be there for a while. But I do get the restlessness, where I have to kind of just get in the car and go somewhere for a day. It's just kind of in my blood, but yeah, I mean, I have a tough time sitting still, which is, I write in different places too. So, but my wife is good about just letting me just go off because she knows I'll come back. It's my bread and butter.
How old is the oldest poem in this book? Like how long ago you wrote it?
Yeah, I'd say like 90% of these poems are from like 2015, 2016, a little in 2017, and then so this publishing company, EMP Press, decided last fall they were going to publish it. Right, it just came out in April, so it was kind of like a 2-year period, and then there's like a handful of poems that are older than that. I mean, there's one poem I wrote like 20 years ago, but for the most part they're pretty recent. Yeah, I mean, I had like 300 poems, and we had to get down to like 100 pages for this thing. So, but mainly new stuff.
Are you working on a new collection?
Yeah, so this same company is going to put out another book next spring. So I guess spring of 2020.
So we can expect every year a new book?
You're going to get shorter and shorter.
My 10th book is going to be 7 pages. All right, I have a question for you, Owen. So, you're going to LA, you're like directing films, you're doing this stuff for Netflix and this and that. You direct your 3rd horror film. How does it feel to get back to your literary roots now? Do you feel like it's more pure? Do you miss it? Like, how are you negotiating all these things? You've got a lot on the table. I don't know how you sleep.
I had a friend of mine, actually, my manager, who's my screenwriting and like film manager, and I was telling him about this idea I had, and he said, "You should write this as a short story." And I was like, "Well, short stories are kind of hard. Like, I've written short stories, and I'm really trying to feed the kids." And he's like, "Oh, LA loves short stories these days. They love short stories. They're optioning short stories all the time." I'm like, I didn't know that. And so I started writing a short story. It was the first time I've been writing as a short story in like years. This is the last month or so. And I love it. Oh my God. Especially when I stopped thinking about like, Hollywood. I think I play it kind of safe sometimes because I want to feed the kids. And this was like, a short story. You can do anything. Felt like, which is exactly what I love about literature, of just do anything and get a little crazy and allow yourself to be surprised by the things you're putting on paper. So it feels really good.
Yeah, I mean, a short story is kind of closer to a screenplay than a novel is usually, right? I mean, a novel you might have a few hundred pages. Screenplay on average like 90 to 120 pages.
Right, yeah.
Short story, I mean, you're gonna get like 20, 40 pages.
Yeah, the thing is
the arc is kind of similar in a short story with
that's
a
true.
screenplay, right?
Yeah, that's true. But a screenplay, you have like screenplay is very structured, Like it's really, really structured, and also like people in LA, they're not risk takers for the most part. Like, so you know, I don't know. I think they actually want to be risk takers.
Do you feel like they're readers?
They read a lot. Funny enough, they read a lot. They're always reading. They take home scripts and books.
They read scripts.
And books. They read books.
I mean, do you feel like a novella?
Your book just got optioned. My Lungs is Thy Bar.
I know. It's being turned into a
HBO?
child's cartoon.
Child's cartoon.
Do you feel like a novella is a better transfer to the screenplay?
No, I think actually, so like if you took about adaptation, like, so I'm reading a collection right now from Ted Chiang, who wrote the short story that the movie Arrival was based on.
Yeah.
And he's an incredible short story writer.
He's a Seattle guy.
Is he?
In Seattle, yeah.
Oh.
He worked in tech.
I'm really impressed with the guy. Like it's obviously that I don't think he spends a lot of time with people. Like his stories are always like
he works in
incredible.
tech.
Yeah, like there are these wild ideas of like the nature of the universe and time and everything like that. But he's like, I saw a girl and she was pretty. Like the characters, obviously, like that's a difficult thing. But his short stories, every short story had like a movie in it. But then there are also like novels that you're like, oh, this novel has just enough barely for you, like to make it to a screenplay. So I don't know. It's just different ideas. And I mean, actually, poems. I actually think there is kind of a movie in here. But I'll tell you about that later.
Well, it's just me and a van driving around the country.
That's the movie.
It's more of a documentary. Any other
Question
questions?
No. What does your wife do then? What is she like? What sort of person does
She has a beard. She likes hats. No, my wife, she's a civil engineering professor, so we're exactly the same. Yeah, so we both teach at Oregon State University in Corvallis, and we met in grad school. And so she's, I wouldn't say she's my better half, but I always say in reality she's my better 2/3. Yeah, she's very high energy and positive, so exactly like me. Any other questions? Yeah.
This might be a little downer after that, but do you know what happened to Joe H?
As far as I know, he's still kicking it in Lafayette, Indiana.
Okay.
I don't think he's in jail, although, what day is it? I don't know, but last I checked, he was okay.
Did he end up kicking the heroin? Did he?
Yeah, he stopped.
Stop?
He stopped. I mean, this kid had a checkered past. He was like 15, but he had these stories like a 60-year-old, like escaping the cops and like living off the grid in the woods and all that stuff. But yeah, by the time I moved out of there, he cleaned up and was kind of like making some money in semi-illegitimate ways.
Semi-illegitimate ways?
No, legitimate.
Oh, legitimate
ways, So I think he's doing okay, but I don't know. It's sort of week to week with that kid.
So if you don't have a PhD or a master's and you have a cool beard and hat kind of thing, and you're writing sort of memoir, what would your advice be? Like, I'm asking for
Grow a beard. It's a lot easier to grow a beard than to get a PhD.
I have one on the winter, but I can't.
I don't know. I mean, none of that shit matters, right? I mean, we talk to so many writers, or it's like so many different ways to write well and write what you love and publish books. I mean, these days I tell my students, not to go to college, right? Because it's kind of a racket. But I don't know. I mean, if you like it, just fake it until you make it, I guess.
I read someone said recently, a writer, and it turned out like this writer, like, this guy's so smart, he's saying some wise things, I keep following him. And he's like, I just turned 25. Like, oh, so we're saying, from the mouths of babes. But he said, he's like, you want to be a writer, step 1, write, step 2, read, step 3, repeat. And I was like, oh, there's something to that, of like just write and read. Which is a great place to start to hear Malvern books, where you can buy a book and support great literature.
Yeah, I think also just just like basically taking a vow of silence and going out into the world and not saying a goddamn thing, you know, just sort of observing as much as you can. Like when I don't know what I'm gonna write about, you know, I just walk off and sit somewhere and I don't say anything. That tends to be super helpful, especially for dialogue. All right, anything else?
Another one. I heard someone talking, I think he was referring more to screenplays, although I guess it could apply to other types of writing as well. Like just, I'm not sure how this is going to come out in question form, but I guess maybe what your thoughts are if it's something that you guys have done.
Question form?
Yeah, I don't know. Just like a thought.
Don't ask a visual question.
Yeah, I just want to say something here. No, he was talking about like a process of writing in like for a full first draft of whatever it is. Again, I'm pretty sure it's more about screenplays, but writing something even if it's bad, like just like write the bad thing first and then get the better one because you just have to get stuff on the page or something like that. I just didn't know if that's something that you do or have tried or.
Everything is bad.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, have you written anything that was like a first draft?
Everything's first draft.
Well, that's not true, but you know.
So we're both big fans of Kerouac, and like Kerouac had this idea that he was like, first thought, best thought, right? Like just write it, think about it for a long time, and then write it. And it was kind of bullshit. Like he would say this, and like on the road, I just wrote. Like it turns out there were like several drafts of On the Road before he just wrote it.
Yeah.
But I do believe in the idea of like going for it, like go nuts. And I do believe the only way to a good draft is a bad draft. Like it's just, you just have to do it, which is like humiliating and strange and should also be celebrated in wild ways. And like, read something, write something that's just so embarrassingly strange and awful, because hidden in that, like, without a doubt, is something brilliant. Like, I often think, like, with smart people especially, I'm gonna presume we're all smart. I'm just gonna do that, because we're in a bookstore. Smart people, they get away in life so much because, like, you give them, like, think about something, and their first idea is gonna be pretty good. Second idea, pretty good. Like, we're brainstorming. Third idea, pretty good. Fourth idea, not as good. And that's where most of us stop, right? We're like, oh, okay, fourth idea. And we stop letting ideas out at that point because, ooh, my ideas are starting to get bad. But if we get, like, fearless, we get the fifth idea. Fifth idea, also bad. Sixth idea, really bad. Seventh idea, fucking brilliant. We just didn't know that it was seventh in line. Eighth idea, oh my God, crazy. Eighth idea and seventh idea get together, have a baby. Ninth idea comes out, that's your idea. And most of us just, like, are so afraid of the bad ideas that we stop before the couple can make the baby.
What if the 11th idea starts sleeping with the 8th idea, and 9th idea gets jealous?
See, there we go. Then you got a series.
Okay.
You gonna read your last thing there?
Yeah, well, this is the last thing that I like to read before, like I would always say, like, there's some books for sale, but then I read this one of my favorite quotes by Lloyd Dobler. Anyone know who Lloyd Dobler is? Say anything. I don't want to sell anything, buy anything, or process anything as a career. I don't want to sell anything bought or processed, or buy anything sold or processed, or process anything sold, bought, or processed, or repair anything sold, bought, or processed, as a career. I don't want to do that. So if you want to buy our books.
Thank you.